Hey guys, so today I'm starting a brand new series on mock interviews. This is where I get to interview one of you, my audience, to see how you perform under pressure. And today's video was recorded about a month ago, and one of the volunteers is my subscriber, and it was great. You know, it was a 1-hour interview, and it was a JavaScript centric. Let's check it out. And again, if you want to be in the hot seat and if you want me to interview you, feel free to contact me. I'll provide an email address here and also in the description. Especially if you are currently interviewing company, this would be a great experience for you. So, you know, practice before you go do the actual thing. And welcome to techsith tutorials. So let's start with understanding. You said your level is medium, right? So if I give you like a 1 to 10, what would be?
Yeah, let's say 5. Again, I don't know, really well how to answer that, but let's call it 5 for now.
And so tell me a little bit about your experiences with JavaScript. What have you done so far?
So about a year ago, I started, gaining interest in programming in general. And learning programming. So I kind of started off with some basic Visual Basic, and then I discovered some YouTube channels and got a little more into web development.
Great. I think it's important. I think it's more important than the career, because a lot of people make a career choice as a job, to program, and then they don't have passion. But it seems like you have passion, and which is important. Okay, all right. So I'm just gonna start. I'm just gonna type here, and then let's say if I have. And are you familiar with the latest Es6 syntax?
Yeah, I only do ES6.
Okay.
Anything prior to that bothers me.
Okay, so. Here I have an object. Val is 1. Similarly, I have this 2. And so what I want you to do is take this object. So you can write a function or some, or some way to translate this object into an array, where array would only contain the values of, so you should have 1 and 2 as the elements.
Is that what you were looking
for? You're almost there, but I think entries would give you like a sort of like a 2-dimensional array. All I need is just values like 1 and 2.
Okay, so let's do this. I'm just going to create an empty array and then loop through the object, and I believe this should put all the values into that array.
Okay.
And sorry, let me just hit that there and just put that in.
Yeah. Okay. Let's say you have a string, and I want it to convert into this string, which would be kind of reverse. Well, it is a reverse string. How would you do that? So convert X to Y by reversing the string.
Create a function called reverse string. Sorry, I'm just not used to putting in all the spaces because I format it using my code editor, but let's do this. And what we're going to do is pass in our string, which in this case is going to be X. And we're going to take string.split, which is going to convert it into an array with the through being an element. And then we can do dot reverse and then join, which will convert it back into a string with no space between the elements. And then we just put a return in front of it. And to refactor that even further, we can really just get rid of that and get rid of our return and just assume that that's, and then just to make sure that works, we can call reverse string as an X. And then just to make sure that it works, we can do reverse string X. And I mean that's gonna work as long as everything is lowercase. If we want to take into account the potential of having uppercase values in the array in the string that we're passing in, then the algorithm would obviously be different.
All right, let's move to the next question. Let's say you have an object which is pretty much the same as before, one, and then you have get a method which nothing but just console logs it this dot a. Okay, and there is another method called get b, which does the same thing, and yeah, I just realized it's very difficult to type in here, but anyway, okay, so now what if I want to do something like this, where I can call a and then get b, and this should print both console logs. So what modification can I make in this code such that I would get the desired result?
So just to clarify, what you're looking for is a way to console log both A and B at the same time?
Yeah, so it should run when I run this statement, object dot get a dot get b, it should first print the value of a, which is 1, and then 2 in a console.
To me, just from the way I understand this, it looks like you'll get an error on that line 14 over there.
Get an error?
From the way I understand it, is that correct?
Okay. Yes, you would not get, so you would not be able to run get b, yes.
Correct, because that's not a method of get a, because get a doesn't return anything. It's just a function that's going to console log 1.
That is right. So what would you change so that it would run?
So if we want to console log both values, I would do, tell me if this is what you're looking for. What you're looking for?
No, so I don't want to change, okay. So I don't want to change the line 14 in any way. I want to keep the line 14 as it is. However, you can make the change to the object.
Oh, I see.
Got it? Yeah. So that there won't be any error on line 14.
I think this should work. Let's do. Let me just change this back to how you had it before.
Yep, that should do it.
That should do it, right?
Yeah. Because you're returning the entire object back, so it should work again.
Was that the solution you had in mind, or do you have another method of doing it?
No, that is a solution I have in mind. Yes. Now I'm moving to level 7. Okay, as per my level. Okay, my understanding of level. It's going to get a little bit tough, but seems like you're doing good. Let's say if I have an array, I want to have a method called print, okay, which basically prints.
So you want to print the elements of the array separated by a comma?
Yeah. Right now, if you run this, it would not work, obviously. So how would you do that?
I think I see what you're looking for. So we want to do array.prototype print equals. Let me just think how to do this. I'm not fully confident in this answer, but I'm going to test this out and see if it works.
Okay.
So, this solution will obviously be only if it has a static 2 elements, and I could modify it to have more. Is that the right solution? Is that going to work?
Yeah, it will work in this case because you have, 2 elements.
Do you want me to make it dynamic?
What if, let's say, yeah.
Okay. So I'll do this dot range. That we can do that, and that should work. Is that correct?
Yeah, that should work. There's a one caveat though, that what it would do is because of the comma at the end of each element, you would get an extra comma. I believe, yeah.
Okay, so I can fix that. Just give me 1 second here. Okay. Is that correct?
Yep. But the simpler answer would be simply convert the object to a string. I think that just simply does that.
Okay.
So if you pass it to a string constructor,
Right.
I think it converts into, comma, yeah. comma separated values. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Let's say if I have an object call A equal to, let's say it's a function, and it has some value. It's all it does is this dot x equal to x. And then let's say I have another object called y, and this dot y equal to y. In the end, I want to create, let's say, new b equal to new b, right? With well, this should have actually x and y. So something like this, okay? And these both a and b should have methods to get basically getters for x.
Right.
So a should have getter for x and b should have a getter for y. So I can, in the end, I can, when I do let's say get x, I should be able to get the value x here, which is this, and similarly I can get y as well. New b dot get y, and I want you to use inheritance to do that.
So just to clarify, I'm just a little confused. In A, you passed in just x, and in B, you passed in just y, x and y?
Yeah, so I want you to fill in the gaps. For example, so A would have only has property x, right? B basically inherits properties. So think of A as a super or parent constructor in this case, and B is a child constructor. Somehow, if you can inherit properties of A, so you don't have to do this dot x equal to x inside B. Also have two methods, get x and get y.
Got it. So just a quick clarification, what is the purpose of passing x into B if it's not being accessed?
No, you will. That's what I'm saying. If you look at the line for 15, I should be getting x out, but it should not be setting inside like this dot x dot equal to x. It should be using a to set that as a, like if you in Java or even JavaScript you have super, right?
Right.
So similarly.
So I mean, can we do dot x and then we can do were you looking for something like that? I'm not so used to the non ES6 class syntax, but
Okay.
I think this should work, right?
This should work. The only problem is, well, this should not work on one line. So line 10 won't work because in order for you have not initialized a, like, a is just a function, right? So
Right.
you won't be able to get the property since.
I see. Okay, I got it. So let me see there. So this dot x equals a let me just think that through before I finalize that. So this .x equals. Okay, I think that'll work.
Yeah, that would work. This, the instead of doing it new here, you can simply use call to, are you familiar with call function, right?
I'm familiar with it. I haven't used it much, but I am
Oh,
familiar.
okay, yeah. So so here you can do something like this. A dot call on this basically with x.
And that'll set this .x to that x that was passed into the b.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and you can, and you don't have to do this x here. You can simply do a dot prototype dot
Right.
Equal to basically
Get x equals function.
yeah, like this, and then you can similarly you can have y inside is fine because you're not inheriting further, but then you don't have to, yeah. So there's one more, but yeah, there's one more thing you have to set the constructor, but yeah, but it should work, yeah.
Okay.
Another one, this is a little bit interesting. Let's say if I have const object equal to, I have a which has b and which has c equal to 1. Something like that. Did I miss anything? Now, how do so the problem with this, if I want to clone this object, so I want to create another object where, let's say I create another object called clone, okay, by doing something, okay, that you can figure out. But ultimately what should happen is if I do, let's say, clone dot a dot b dot c equal to 2 and console log, let's say object dot a dot b dot c, it should not give me 2.
I think the best way to do that is with using an object.freeze. Is that correct?
No, so first of all, just let's think of this way. How would you clone it? First of all, basically create a copy so that it's not linked to the original object. It has its own. I mean, it looks the same, but it has its own value. So if you change the clone, it doesn't impact the original object.
That do it?
No, so the syntax of object design is you would have like an empty object, and then you take the object pass into. Yeah, but it's a tricky question because it does create a clone technically,
Right.
but it's a shallow clone. Yeah. So what I was saying is that yeah, object assigned would work only if it's like a one level deep object.
Right.
Because it still doesn't let go of the reference, because if you look at here, B actually is an object. C is actually primitive value, so it doesn't keep the reference, but B would keep its reference because here you're only kind of fixing A in a way, right? Do you see any other possibility that you can do? So basically the answer is deep cloning.
I'm not sure of how to do that. I've
Okay.
never come across that.
Okay. All you do is, well, one solution is to you can write something recursive where it just goes deep and just keep copying. Okay. And so then you copy literally everything. So there's no reference attached to the original object. Another solution would be, and this is a hack, I don't think, well, you can use it. And the way it works is you can do, for example, you can take an object, JSON dot stringify object. When you do this, basically converts to a string, right? So there's no reference left. And then you can do JSON.parse. And that would basically create a new object.
I see.
It's a simpler solution.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's definitely a hack.
Yeah, it's a hack. Yeah. If it's not too deep of an object, you can do it because speed-wise, I think I haven't looked at the performance of this. If you have a giant object, you might have some implications, but this works actually. Okay. Actually, I had created only this many questions. I thought it would take 1 hour, but you're speeding through, so that's great actually. Okay, so let's say if I have an array A equal to, let's say 1, 2, 5, 7, and 9. And I mean, that's just giving an example, but it could be much longer arrays. What I want you to do is create another array called C, which would hold, which would merge these two arrays. So it would be like...
And keep it sorted?
Yes, keep it sorted as well.
So, if I remember correctly, I think you should be able to do that do it? I think that should work if I remember correctly.
Okay, so let's look at it. You have two A plus B.
I mean, I know you can use concat, but I think using an addition operator on an array can just merge them. Is that correct?
No. So what addition operator would do is it would do something. So since the last element of A is 9 and the first element of B is 2, it would do something like this. So you would get a 92 in between.
I see.
Yeah.
Okay, so then in that case, I believe we can do, and I believe that should just return that array, and then I can sort it.
Right. Okay, yeah. That should work. Okay, so let's look at let's say if one of your arrays is just really large. Sorting, you would kind of need to do unnecessary sorting. Is there any simpler way is there any better algorithm that would help you do that?
Yeah, I mean, I can really loop through this, do maybe a nested loop and loop through and then put the elements of the second array into, do like a binary search and put them in to the correct place in the new array. But I don't know, I mean, I guess we can test it, but I don't know that will be faster than the solution.
Okay.
Was that what you had in mind, or was there a simpler
No,
solution, something that
no.
you've overcome?
Well, simpler solution in the terms of number of lines is the one you have right now. But what I was looking for is optimal solution, so faster. This works in this case because it's not many elements. But if you have a much larger set of elements, the sorting becomes unnecessary. Yeah, one way to do it is. Do you think any different? I mean, you don't have to code it. Just if you can walk me through by just looking at the numbers, how to put them in a sorted manner. For example, let me give you a hint, right? Let's say if there were a million, B is like a million long, and
Right.
A has like five elements, right? Um, Now, if you concat them and sort them, sorting basically is a dumb sort, right? So we'll go through every single element to
Mhm.
to sort this, right?
Let me just think here. We probably have to do something recursive. Let me think how I would do that.
The trick is inside how you do it. If you were to do it like manually, I always when I somebody asks me a question, usually I try to do things manually by just looking at things and see
Right.
if it makes sense. So if you have to manually do something, how would you do it?
So I would so I have the two arrays in front of me. I would look at the first element in B
Yeah.
and see where in A I should place it, which would be after the second element.
Mm-hmm.
I look at the next element, it would be after the fourth element once I put the two in, and so on and so forth.
Yeah, so yeah, so the answer is basically you take first elements of each. So you would have two pointers basically. Okay, pointer in the sense you keep track of index of each array. You create two indexes, pointers
Right.
which tracks the index, and then you start from the first element one. So here you have one and two, right? So you say which one is the smallest, and so the one is the smallest. So you push that to another array. Then um, you still keep. So then you move whichever you push, you move that index to increment the index. So now you're comparing A's two to B's two. Now here you have the same, so you can pick any. You can make that decision, right? And
Right.
then let's say assume that you pick the two from the B. Now you increment the index. So now both index is like a 1 1, right? So then you compare 2 to 5 and then you put 2. So by the time you reach 9, you're kind of done, right? Then you know that you're done with A. Then you just take whatever you have in B and then just push it into
Right.
to it. So like maximum 5 comparison and you're done.
Right.
Yeah. So that's usually the there are actually a couple of other solutions to that, but I think most of the interviewer would accept that solution as a better.
Right. But I mean, just a quick question on
Sure.
that.
Yeah.
That solution will definitely be faster, assuming that A is much shorter than B. But let's say both A and B both have 1,000 elements.
Yes.
Would that solution still be more performance efficient than my solution?
Yes, because think of this way, right? So let's say the length is n, right? So
Mm-hmm.
in here you are comparing two elements. So maximum you're comparing n times or like 2n, right?
Right.
In this simpler solution, you have to concat, which is not that. So concating actually is concating is not a big, but sorting. If you look at even the fastest sort, which is let's say quick sort, right? Which is I think I believe n log n. So it's
Right.
yeah. So 2n is better than n log, yeah. So that's how. All right. So let's do one last, and then we can. Let's say you have the same way, x equal to 1. Then you would have get x here. and inside I have equal to function this dot x, and then I will be executing this. So if I do here,
sorry to interrupt. I think it froze again. After inner open parentheses, I don't see any changes.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Inner equal.
So in this case, if you get object.getX, what would be the answer? What would you get?
Object.getX will be, let me think about this for 1 second before I answer.
Sure.
Just to make sure the scope makes sense. So when I call object.getX, I'm going to create a constant called inner, which will console log this.x, and then I call inner. So getX should give you 1, if I'm understanding this correctly.
Okay. Well, okay. So it should give you undefined.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Yeah, it's because the this is not going to reference the object. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, I figured I was making a mistake there. I answered too quickly.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the this.x will be undefined because this is not going back up to the object. It's going to reference the function that it's in.
Yeah. So what are the? I'm sure you know the solution to it, but what I want you to do is just to come up with a multiple solutions. How many ways you can solve this, so that I would get 1 as the answer.
While keeping this same function structure here.
So yeah, you can change.
Well, first of all, if we change this from a function declaration to an arrow function, I think that should work, right?
Yeah, that's a one solution. But let's say, yeah, so that's the best solution. What are the others? So let's say if you want to keep that as a function. For example, let's say when you in a Babel, right, that the arrow function get compiled to, regular function, right?
Right.
In that case, how would they deal with this kind of situation?
I think so. This is why maybe it wasn't great that I went straight with ES6, because I kind of just use those arrows. But let me think if I can get this here.
No, I think you made a right decision to move move to arrow directly.
So this is going to be. I can't think of another solution right now off the top of my head. I wouldn't be able to call object.x, right?
No, not from inside.
Right. So, I'm not sure. I can't think of another solution right now.
Okay. So one solution would be here, let's say if you have like a regular function, right? Then you can do one thing. You can say const that equal to this, and then you can just, because of the lexical scoping.
Got it.
So because you're not using this here, right? So it should work.
Right.
Another solution would be, let's say if you want to keep this as a right, then you would do call on this. What do you think? I mean, I based on the interview, I would say you are close to 9. And I'm just comparing with a lot of other people that I've interviewed so far. You not only just have a solution, but you are quick on your feet and format it. Even though I collab it doesn't format it, you format it. So you provide the tabs and everything, which is also very important because I've had people who just doesn't do that and just write everything in one line. That is why I use Collab Edit, because I want to see how they actually code. Yeah, you have the knowledge and skill and passion.
Okay, that sounds good. Thank you.
All right, sounds good.
All right,
man.
Thanks for the time.
Have a good night. Okay. All right, so that's about it, and I hope you really enjoyed the interview. And if you did, please like, subscribe, and provide a nice comment. And if you want to be interviewed, again, you can contact me here. I'll provide here at this email address. And remember, I'm not going to disclose any name or anything, so your identity would be undisclosed. Also, you can help the channel via Patreon. Actually, help me by watching the advertisement, which would be followed after this video. And thank you.